Oh. Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Tipsy 2. Hi, Rebecca.
Hello, Jennifer.
How's it going? What's going on?
Nothing too much this week. It's a little bit... Well, you know what I did do is I had a second walkthrough on that winery. I know.
We haven't even talked about that.
I know. I can't remember if when we last left off...
We were just talking about we were going to go look at the winery.
But we haven't talked about how we actually physically went and... Okay, well, maybe we should touch base on it. All right. So our fans can follow along.
No, we did. We were talking last time we went, or when we were on here, we were like, oh, we're going to go look at this winery.
Yeah.
We ended up going to look at the winery.
Yeah. We met with the owner and the real estate agent. And I don't know. There's so much potential with the actual winery. I really hope they don't watch this. But it's just wildly, it needs updates. It's very, very dated. The area where most people would sit in a winery, it looks like cafeteria style. It's just very odd. It just needs to be elevated, which we could certainly do. I'm not worried about that. It's the extra 5,000 square feet that are above the winery in this giant historical building. That is just, it's from I think it was built in 1861. And in 1881, a bank took it over. And then it's just been one thing after another. But if you can imagine 1861, on the very top level, we honestly think it was a brothrothal.
Oh, God.
I know you'd love to be a madam.
God,
but the guy said he thinks it was a brothel. And it had numbers like room 8, room 9, different things. It's so cool. The architecture in it is really cool.
It's
a lot
really
of
pretty.
Archways. It would be a really sick ballroom, or an event center, if we took it over. And the price is right, but you would need FU money to really get it right. And with it being a historical building, I don't know how much you can mess with it. Because you can't really mess with the integrity of the structure too much when it's a part of this historical society type of a building, at least where we are from.
I think that if we took it over, we would literally have to just run the winery part downstairs first and leave the second and third floor go until we decided what we wanted to do with it and if we could make enough money to literally
start to do something
with it and
yeah.
do something. So but I went with Rebecca to look at the last Friday, but then you and Chuck, your husband, went and looked at it again past Friday. We looked at it again, yeah. And we haven't touched base since then. So what happened?
So Chuck looked at it, my husband, and we met with the same owner and the same realtor, of course. And honestly, it was a little bit of a different tour than what you and I took. She was like, you've been through it, Rebecca, so just you and your husband go run around if you have any questions. So, I took Chuck throughout everywhere, and, he was he's very into all the possibilities and all of the dreams of what it could be and how cool it could be.
Yeah.
But to put in the actual effort is just kind of outrageous. So when we came back downstairs to reconvene, we asked hey, can you give us the financials so we know what the business does? Stuff like that, how much money does it make? What's the traffic like? What are the utilities? Just the basic stuff. He kind of went into it a little bit. He said he would open that stuff up to us. But I didn't know if I told you or not. He said that it is in fact haunted.
He did finally tell you that?
Yeah, he said that. I was like, because
so what happened with Rewind, because the first time her and I went and looked at it, I was like, we were like, okay, we need to talk to somebody that knows. So I have a friend that lives in that town, and I called her and asked her what she knew about it and what she could tell me about it. And she's like, I do know that a lot of people say that it is haunted. And I was like, oh, holy shit, here we go. Because this one over here can't even handle
nothing.
I mean, nothing haunted, no scary movies, no haunted houses, nothing.
No jump scares, nothing. But so what he said, and I was thinking, you had told me that lady had said that. So I was like, when he brought it up, he's like, I feel obligated to tell you that it is haunted. And I was like, so of course my husband was like, so what evidence do you have, or what do you, why do you come to that conclusion? And he was like, well, one day me and my partner were in here and we heard footsteps, and I was like, oh, did you lock the door behind you when you came in? And he's like, yeah, of course I did. And he's like, well, I heard footsteps. He goes, well, I heard it too, but I know for a fact I locked the door. So he was like, that's odd. then it was like in 2 seconds, and there's no way that it could, if it was a real person, it could transition from one place to the other. We heard the same footsteps upstairs in like a second. So even if it was a real person, they just couldn't get to that area where they heard the second footsteps in time. So, and we were like, what? And he goes, and then he goes, now, I know this is going to sound really crazy. He goes, but one day I was here, and by the way, like this, when you go to the second and third floor, which is so old, I can't tell you, the staircase has the tiniest steps. Like I feel like people from the 1800s must have had the littlest tiny feet,
right?
Because it was so narrow. But he said that he went into this room that has the staircase that leads up, which he never goes to. Anyways, he said that he walked in that room and he kind of just randomly glanced up and he saw a woman in a full white dress with a hand on her hip, looking down at him like, "What are you doing in here?" And I go, "Was that the madam of the brothel?" And he goes, "Honestly," I go, "were you freaked out? Like I would be dying." And he was like, "No, I really wasn't, because I gave CPR to my actual father. And then the ambulance, I gave him CPR up until the ambulance came." This is what he told us. And he said he went to the hospital, and then he later did in fact pass. But he said he was really devastated by that loss, and he had been just kind of going through a little bit of a depression, and of course, as you would. And he said in about 6 weeks after his dad passed, he woke up one night and his dad literally was standing at the edge of his bed. And his dad was saying, "It's time for you to get back to work." Like that. He said, because I hadn't gone back to work in like 6 weeks. And he was like, "You need to get back to work." And he goes, and I did exactly what my dad told me to do. But I seen him as clear as day. He goes, "So when I saw the lady in white with her hand on her hip giving me the side eye, like, 'What are you doing here, sir?' I just wasn't that scared." He goes, "I'm not that scared." He goes, "The energy and the ghosts or the spirits or the whatever that is in fact here isn't scary."
When we were going through it,
but I'm like, "You just want me to buy it."
And I was taking
very scary.
I was taking pictures everywhere we went.
Mm-hmm.
And on the second and third floor, I mean, it is rooms, like creepy ass rooms. And I remember being on a tour in Charleston, South Carolina. We did the haunted walk down, downtown and stuff. And the guy was like, "Take a ton of pictures because you will be able to see orbs." So I was taking pictures in there, and I will be damned. I swear, I saved this one picture in that one room that was really creepy,
really dark,
and small.
Yeah,
I was taking pictures, and you could see like little white things like floating around. I saved it. I'll show it to you.
Well, there was there's a lot of cool architecture and there was this doors. One wall had this like curved effect, and then but it opened up, and it was like where coal went. It was just so old. It's such a cool building, and if you really had fuck you money, you could do some cool shit with it.
Yeah.
But I mean, we don't have fuck you money, but we could definitely run that winery.
The winery, yeah. I mean, and I think we could like benefit from it being haunted. So we could do haunted tours. We could do haunted merch.
Right.
We could
the
build
Tipsy
the winery around the ghosts. I mean, there's so many different things that we could do with it. I don't know why we shouldn't.
I know.
Well, that stinks, but
yeah.
I mean, at least it was
we're
fun
still
to
waiting on
it.
the financials, and we'll see how that all plays out, if it financially makes sense, if the traffic seems there. So stay tuned.